want to bring in Congressman Ryan Zinke. He's a U.S. House Republican representing Montana's 1st Congressional District. He is also a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, and he's in Washington. Congressman, thank you so much for being on the program. The President, Donald Trump, just posted on Truth Social, really lashing out at Iranian media for leaking supposed details of this deal, saying that they bear no relation to the truth. Can you correct the record here? What is, in your understanding, in this deal and what's not in this deal?
Well, I think President Trump has been very firm on three pillars: no nuclear weapons, no nuclear material, and no arsenal of destruction. Another leg of it is really freedom of navigation in the Straits of Hormuz. And this is not the first time that the freedom of navigation has been challenged, nor the first time that the U.S. has responded to make sure there's freedom of navigation for all countries in and out of the Straits. So I think that those principles, but as you point out, the devil is in the detail. How is verification going to take place? Who is going to be the verifying body? So I think Iran was right that nothing's been signed. It was correct. I think they're closer to a deal than ever, but I think the devil again is in the details of how the specific agreement is going to be executed.
I want to read to you what the Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz wrote on X just a few minutes ago. He said, in part, the U.S. president is currently leading toward an agreement with Iran out of a view of American interests, including the shared interest with Israel to prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons. And we expect him to uphold this principle and additional principles in the realm of missiles and terrorist proxies. Obviously, the ballistic missiles, limiting those, the proxy groups that Iran supports in this region, those are Israeli red lines. They have been for some time. But are they also American red lines here?
Well, to be sure, the interest of the President of the United States is what's in the best interest of the United States. And oftentimes those are parallel with Israel's, but there are differences between. And the president looks at it, he wants peace, but he also will not, he's been very firm, no nuclear weapons, no nuclear material, no arsenal of destruction. And each of those points, arsenal of destruction, also have to be defined. But again, I think the president's been very, very firm. And look, Israel, oftentimes I stand with Israel, but I fight for America. It's, we're allies. However, there's going to be differences, and that's to be understood.
Congressman, it sounds like you're saying that the United States and Israel on these points are not on the same page here. Am I understanding you correctly?
Well, the right page is be on the page of Donald J. Trump, because he is the president of the most powerful country in the face of the planet. Unless President Trump is convinced it's the right path, it will not be our path as a nation, and it won't be successful. I think on all sides, including the region, they understand how important it is for the United States to act, but also act in the interest of the United States and our allies. No one is happy with the regime as they are in Iran. And I go back to the potential of the Middle East to have a period of prosperity if they didn't have a radical regime. I tell you, it would be a golden era in the Middle East, because you have countries now that are well led, sophisticated, well educated, and they're doing very well economically. So I'm actually very bullish on the Middle East and long-term peace and how much prosperity that can bring.
So, Congressman, you heard the foreign minister there say that, look, this deal is very close. Obviously, there is something, though, preventing the Iranians from getting across the finish line here. And I wonder if that is sanctions relief, because according to the Iranian state media reporting, there is no commitment to sanctions relief, at least immediately. Do you think that may be the thing that's ultimately holding this up?
Well, I think your point is well taken. Look at the economy inside of Iran. And our objectives are clear, but what's the objectives of the Iranian regime? It's survival. and things are not good inside Iran. Water and economics, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, their cash flow, I would imagine that would be a priority for them because it's about saving and maintaining and a regime survival. And economics, I think, is part of that formula.
Congressman, the Iranians are also saying that some Iranian assets will be unfrozen immediately. Do you have any sense of how much that may be in dollar figure?
No, but you look, their currency is worthless, or inflation is unsustainable, obviously.
But presumably we're talking about U.S.
flow.
dollars or foreign currencies held overseas, correct?
Yeah, I think so. And there's frozen accounts, and yeah, but there's substantial. It's in the billions, believe me. And
so did you say
given the economy
millions
it is in Iran,
or billions? Sorry to interrupt you,
billions,
Congressman. Billions. Okay, in the billions. Please continue.
Billions. In the billions, and likely tens of billions.
Tens of billions immediately released to the Iranian regime. I wonder,
in total, and I'm sure that even $1 billion would be a welcome relief, given what the Iranian economy is.
Yeah, I just know that President Barack Obama, under the JCPOA, got a lot of flack for releasing Iranian funds. Presumably, the U.S. president is also under a lot of pressure from people within his own party over releasing these funds. Do you think that this is going to be a problem politically for the president?
Well, I don't think President Trump has any intention of launching an aircraft over with with billions of dollars in cash to a regime that is not going to change their modus of operandi. So no, the president is not going to send bucket loads of money over there without verifiable evidence, and I'm sure it's going to be time to walk through to make sure that Iran is living up to the conditions.
Congressman,
but it might be a deal sweetener, on good faith. So I think with President Trump, look, he's a master at negotiation. He's from New York. This is not the first deal that he's looking at, and he's personally involved with this. So I think with President Trump, he wants a deal. I think Iran wants a deal, probably worse than the president. But I think the whole region would prefer, quite frankly, the straits were open and we had peace and prosperity there.
That is undoubtedly true. Congressman, what is your understanding of what needs to happen in Lebanon for this deal to become reality? Does Israel need to cease fire, or does it need to withdraw from Lebanon?
Lebanon to me, it's a different set. You do have Hezbollah, you have, in that region, and the surrogates of Iran, Hezbollah, Houthis, Hamas. Lebanon, the government is always hanging on by just a thread. I think the people are just tired of war in Lebanon. And you look at that region at one time, I mean, that was the place, the place that everyone went, everyone aspired to go.
The Paris of the Middle East. Yeah, we've heard it before, Congressman. But I'm asking you, I'm asking you what the Israelis ought to do in this deal. Do they need to withdraw? What's your understanding?
No, on this issue, I would defer to Ambassador Barak. And I can tell you, Tom Barrack is a wonderful ambassador. He's leading those efforts. He has background, historical, family ties, but he understands the region. And I think the whole region benefits from his leadership there. So he also has, obviously, the ear of the secretary. So on such matters that I think the expert really on this matter is probably Tom Barrack and the leadership team.
Understood. But I just want to read you what the Israeli defense minister wrote on X, again, not long ago. He said, Israel must ensure that in the future as well, we will have the ability to act independently to prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons. It goes on to say Israel will not withdraw from the security zones in Lebanon, Syria, and Gaza. It sounds to me like Israel is not going to go along with a ceasefire in Lebanon. Do you think that this could sink this deal entirely?
I think Israel will ultimately do what's in the best interest of Israel, as we will do what's in the best interest of America. But we will also understand our place in the world. But there is going to be agreements, there's no doubt. Because I think this agreement on security is as important probably to Israel as it is the United States, as it is to Iran.
But Congressman, does Israel need to be told what to do? Does Israel need to say, look, if you don't withdraw or if you don't cease fire, there will be consequences? Is that what needs to happen here? And do you think that Israel will listen if they're told?
Well, I'm not sure you can tell Israel anything.
But surely you have a lot of leverage over the Israelis. I mean, you give them $3.8 billion per year.
Yeah, I'm sure we have enormous amount of influence. But I'm sure on an agreement, if all sides of the agreement, I expect Israel to hold that agreement, and so there will be an agreement, I'm sure, on this, and the agreement, at some degree, formal, informal, signature, etc. There will have to be agreement because all parts, I think, are necessary for long-term peace.
Yeah. Obviously, there are a lot of concerns over what the Israelis are doing in southern Lebanon. In some cases, they are razing entire villages to the ground. In some cases, they are demolishing them. And I wonder if you think that those kind of actions are in U.S. interests, or are they solely in maybe Israel's interests?
Well, on the Israel question, I've been to Gaza, post October 7th. And that strikes deep in the heart of Israel and humanity on those events of the day. I think all of us want long-term peace again. But in fairness, look, this region has been in conflict for a long time, and there are issues that I think nothing will get solved unless all sides agree to a fundamental understanding that peace and prosperity, dignity, jobs, opportunity, those core elements that build any stable country. Those have to apply. I mean, whether it's Gaza, whether it's Palestinians, everyone deserves dignity, and everyone deserves a path for a better future. And that path can only be obtained by all sides agreeing that is their goal. Going back to the principal conflict at the moment, I think it all comes down to where Iran and the U.S. Come down on this. And then I think the U.S. will use our influence, but it will be in the best interest of Israel, I can assure you, and that is long-term peace and prosperity in the region.
Congressman, before we let you run, I just want to ask about the strike on the girls' school in Minab in Iran. Around 168 people were killed in that strike. And I wonder, was the U.S. responsible for that strike? And if the U.S. was, in fact, responsible, should it apologize? Should it pay compensation to those families?
I don't think, as a former mission commander, former SEAL commander, former deputy commander of special forces in Iraq, there isn't a commander that would wish that upon anyone, the killing of innocents. It should be looked at, but I do not believe in any case it was malice. It wasn't intentional to destroy or kill innocents. I can tell you on Iran, 90% of their targets have been directed at civilian targets. U.S. does not direct our force on killing innocent civilians. But I don't hear a lot about war crimes from Iran striking intentionally civilian targets.
Sure, and your point is well taken, but I'm not asking about whether this was intentional, because I think most people probably look at this and say, surely the United States would not intentionally fire at a school full of children. But I'm asking you whether or not the U.S. owes some compensation, or at the minimum, an apology to those families?
Well, I would say that would come with my position is it's come with an apology from Iran from striking innocent civilians.
All right, Congressman.
So I don't think anyone. I think anyone on both sides enjoys the death of and destruction of needless civilians.
All right, Congressman Ryan Zinke.
I would hope our evil in the world is not to that point.
Yeah, fair enough. Congressman, we appreciate your time today. Thank you for being on the program.